You're listening to The Art of Imperfect Adulting. I'm your host, Amy Stone. Here, I share stories from real people navigating the adventure that I call adulting. Are you ready? Me too. Let's do this. Hello, friends. Today, we're going to talk about cars, and specifically, driving fun cars. I'm going to introduce you to my new friend, Ryanne Siddiq. There's a lot of other fun stuff in today's chat, including a chronic illness, which actually is not super fun, but an author story, which is what in the world does all of this have in common? Let's get started, and I'm going to fill you in. Ryanne Siddiq, welcome to Imperfect Adulting.
Hey, I appreciate being here.
Oh, that's so fun. Are you ready for a fun chat?
I totally am. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So I am super excited to have this conversation today. We're going to talk about cars, and I got to admit, I don't often get to talk about cars. Before we get into the interesting stuff, share with the audience what part of the world you call home.
I am in Houston, Texas.
Nice, nice. And what's the weather like in December in Houston, Texas?
Today is very cold, and we're all like going into our warm weather shock because this is not, we can't handle the cold.
What is very cold for Houston? I live in Miami, so we don't do cold.
So it's in the low 40s today.
That is cold. Okay. You get a pass like that. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it counts. All right. One other itty bitty question so we can know more about you as a person before we dig into the fun stuff. Tell us as much or as little about your family as you want.
So I have an awesome husband and two really cool kids. They're 8 and 10, a girl and a boy. And we're just, we're a car crazy family. So it's in the blood. It's all of us.
All right. So 8 and 10, those are fun ages. Those are fun
really
ages.
Are.
That's like solid in the young kid age. You're on the cusp of the tweenhood.
Yes. Like I can already see it coming out in my 10-year-old, my daughter. And it's like the level of sass already. It's like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
It could be. It could be. One of my friends says, she says, yeah, it's all great. Every age is great. She said there is that point where the aliens come and get your kids, they take them away, they replace them with teenagers. They usually return them a few years later. And it's a joke. It's totally a joke. Okay, so anyway, you describe yourself, and you hinted to this a second ago, you describe yourself as a car girl. So tell the audience what does that mean to you?
It's really funny because I have a lot of people ask me, oh, are you into cars because your husband's into cars? It's like, I have to really stop myself from rolling my eyes because it's my life goal to beat my husband on the racetrack. But I have been playing with cars since I was, in elementary school in my pink frilly dresses. I was not playing house with the other girls. I was in the sandbox making roads and cities and everything for my little Matchbox cars. So I've always loved cars, and they just got bigger and more expensive.
No, absolutely. All right. So you played with cars as a small child, and then you grew up and started driving like the way we do. Are you from Texas? Because Texas is car country.
It really is. No, actually, funny enough, I'm from New England.
Okay, still car country, but
little bit. I mean, I was kind of New York and suburbs, and then Connecticut was like country, very quickly. So I grew up doing a lot of farm stuff and driving big trucks on these little tiny back roads, like hauling butt around these massive corners. And it was just, I would joke about the parts falling off my old truck as I went around these corners, but it was always, there was always cars, there was always ATVs or snowmobiles or something. There was always a machine that was getting me somewhere. And I think there's a certain freedom to it.
Yeah.
You're not responsible to anybody else when it's just you in a car. I mean, okay, sure. When you're on the road and like you're sitting in traffic, yes, you're responsible to like a million other people around you. But, on a racetrack,
Right.
It's me in the car and the track. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. And the clock, right?
And the clock. All right. So I've never driven a car on a racetrack. I've run around a racetrack here so I live in Miami. Homestead Speedway is our local racing venue. And we also have a Formula One event but they build that on the roads. Okay. So Homestead. So I've run around it on foot, which is ridiculous because it's like running. It's fun, especially if you make little zoom zoom noises while you do it. But it it's like being in an oven because it's very hot on the line. And
Yes.
then I've also been around in a bike. They use it as a staging thing for sporting events because like it's a fantastic venue for sporting events. Like if you ever have a chance to be in a stadium run by anybody affiliated with NASDAQ, or not NASDAQ, what I mean, NASCAR, do it. It's super fun. And so, all right. So, when did you first get a chance to drive on a track? Like, how old were you when you did that?
So as far as tracking, this was, my husband and I went from, crappy old Toyotas when we first started our relationship, and we've slowly built up to these really just bucket list cars.
Okay.
And it was when we got our first, like, it was a Mercedes AMG,
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
which is
Love it.
which is it's like German muscle car,
Yeah.
right? And so we ended up we found a car group that was all AMG enthusiasts, and they became our car family.
And so you
Um,
did like an owner's event on a track.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so they worked out a thing with with the dealership and with the track, and they had us all out in our cars and their cars with instructors, and it just was like, oh, this is cool. This is really
I've
cool.
seen those and I've known people who've done it. But I've never done it. I've never done it, but I've seen those and they do look like they're a lot of fun. And, like, so it's when, yeah. So like you're saying, you find a car club very frequently tied to the type of car. So you've got like Mercedes clubs and Porsche
Yeah.
clubs and Ferrari clubs. Super, super, super fun. All right. So you shared with me this is our first conversation. We were just meeting today, but you shared with me before we started that at some point you say that you had to give up driving the fun cars because of an illness. So do you want to tell us, and share with us what that's about and what happened?
So I when I look back on a lot of these major life events, having kids, there was a big car accident many years ago, and it always took me a lot longer to recover than I felt like it should have. And, I was always tired,
Okay.
and I have thyroid issues.
Who
So,
doesn't?
yeah,
Sorry. Like,
exactly.
I mean, I don't have any official thyroid issues, but my doctor's always like, listen,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, like, I've always had this fatigue. It was managed for the most part, but it's always kind of been there. So now COVID hits. I go from, financial professional. Now I'm at home with my kids because they're distance learning.
So much
And
fun. That's a joke, by the way. Move on.
when I say that one or both of myself and my son were in tears on a daily basis, I am not lying.
I believe you.
Um, it was a struggle. Um, so about a year, so it was December of 2020, we got COVID. And for us, we were really fortunate. COVID itself wasn't that bad. But again, I'm not recovering.
Yeah.
And then I end up having tremors.
Oh, that does not sound fun.
So I have these severe tremors. I can hardly write. I'm dropping things. And we can't figure out what's going on. So now I'm doing tests for MS. I'm doing, tests for Parkinson's, MRIs, blood work. It was horrible. Just trying to figure out where are these
Yeah.
tremors coming from. So now my functional doctor, who treats my thyroid, said, wait a minute, looking at all of this, the timeline was it happened right after COVID. So let's do a post COVID, like long haul
Yeah.
cocktail of meds. So I was on that for 2 weeks and it was miserable. It was, you know, feeling worse before you feel better.
Okay.
And after the course of meds was finished, the tremors go away. Great. Okay. So now the following December, we are on a bucket list weekend. Me and my husband, we are on the Formula One track in Austin with our car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I, so we had COVID a few weeks before. And again, I'm taking a while to recover. So now we're here on this track and I have tremors again. I'm having cardiac issues.
Oh my
My
goodness.
brain and body are completely disconnected. So my brain is telling the car to go one direction and my body is having it go the other. When you're on a racetrack going really fast,
Yeah.
I was a danger to myself. I was a danger to other people. I had to pull myself off. So I did like one 20-minute session and I was like, I can't, like, this is not good. So I get home that following week and with the cardiac edition, now my doctor is saying with all of the pieces that we've put together over the years, I really think this is Lyme.
Okay. I did not know what was going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So, oh, wait, you are from the birthplace of Lyme, Connecticut.
I am from the birthplace of Lyme. So they think because I've been in Houston since early 2000s, so they think that I've had Lyme just brewing for like
Dormant.
over 20 years and that having COVID like kicked it into high gear.
Yeah.
And so here I am, you know, a few days after my 40th birthday with a chronic Lyme diagnosis. And
Congratulations and happy birthday.
right. And you know what? And it was
Wow.
so funny because I'm crying tears of relief because I finally know what's
Right.
going on. Because I was really starting to think like like this, if nobody can find anything, it must be in my head. Like, this is what I am personally thinking. Nobody is saying this to me, but it was really bad. It was really
Yeah.
bad. Um,
And you're kind of lucky actually that nobody was saying that because of the people I know who've gone through the long, it tends to be a very long process to figure out the chronic illnesses.
yes.
And the people I know who have worked through the process for a variety of things, whether it might be MS or lupus, it takes years. And there is a
Yes.
season where people are saying,
Yeah.
hey, is this for real? Like, do you actually have this? It feels terrible. I've never talked to anybody who's enjoyed the process.
No, it's horrible. And like, I could totally get on the soapbox of the American medical system, and I won't do that to you today.
I appreciate
Um,
that.
but yeah, no, it was not an enjoyable experience. But when I finally knew, and I knew Lyme was not going to be an easy thing to treat, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be.
I don't actually, I know several people because that's the thing. Lyme is a sneaky thing because it is
Yes.
dormant for a long time.
Yes.
We say treatment, right? Because this is living with a condition that rears its ugly head as you move through your life, is my understanding, right?
When you are able to catch it early enough, they can completely eradicate it.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so I'm happy to be wrong about that.
Well, like, and I say when they catch it early enough, like in the first few weeks.
And is that so? But that's not your story.
No, that is not my story.
Okay. All right.
So, so yeah, so here I am. I finally have a diagnosis. And when we looked back, how did, you know, the first cocktail of meds get rid of my tremors? Well, it turned out that one of those meds also treats Lyme.
Oh, that's okay. That's very nice. I did
So,
my stories with COVID is slightly different. I had like the and not at all, but I got the round of it that came with like a ridiculous cough.
yeah,
So I was like coughing and coughing and coughing. And so they put me on steroids. It's the only time I've ever taken like the steroid, a course of steroids. And I felt fabulous on the steroids. I was like, I'm cured. And then they wore off and I was like, I feel terrible, it's
Yeah.
like, so yeah, okay. So back to your story. So it happened that was a medicine that did two things. And then you got COVID again. Lucky you. The symptoms came back. It's a gift that you now have a diagnosis. It sounds like it's
Yes.
right, but
Yes.
it's not super fun to find out that you are going to live with a chronic condition.
No, it never is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the treatment for Lyme is a lot of you're going to feel worse before you get better.
Oh, that's
And
so, yeah. Yeah.
so it's been years of, I have very good days and I have very bad days. There are times where I'm still in bed for 2 days straight because I'm I can't function and my body needs that time to rest. But um there's been huge improvements. I feel on my good days better than I ever remember feeling previously in my life.
Oh, that's good.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I know how to recognize that, oh, I need to stop and I need to, take a breather, because if I don't rest now, I'm going to have to rest for 2 days,
Okay.
tomorrow. So that's really important, being self-aware. And that's a lesson that I had to learn.
Well, it is. It's super hard. So I love to talk to people about the choices and the choices they make and the way it impacts their life. So we talked about your passion for cars that started when you were a kid. And it sounds like the passion is for fast cars. But let's talk about, so what you talk about fun cars. What makes a car fun for you?
To me, so my husband is all about more power, straight line.
Okay.
I am, and I have always been, and it doesn't matter if I'm in a, giant old pickup truck or a beautiful fast car. I'm all about the cornering.
Okay, yeah, the power into its turn and
Yeah.
being slammed into the side of your seat. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is the joke in my house that, yeah, my husband likes to go in a straight line. I like to turn a corner.
Yeah.
So, um, so, and this is, part of now my life philosophy. There is a quote attributed to Mario Andretti.
Okay.
And the quote is, when life gives you a curve, downshift and take it aggressively.
Right, right. Yeah. Accelerate out of the curve. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So here I am with COVID, with this illness diagnosis. I can't really go back to my job in finance. And I'm struggling with all of this cocktail of meds that I'm on because I'm hypersensitive to everything. So now one of the only things that I can do is I can read.
Okay.
And I read voraciously. And then the ideas started to come.
Okay, we'll get to those in a second. I want to go back to some choices because people tend to, when I talk to people about the choices and changes they make in their lives, one of the things I notice is there's all these little choices that people make that are hallmarks of their personality, but we devalue them ourselves. So you very quickly told the story of being on the track and getting a signal from your body and making the decision to pull off of the loop, being aware of the fact that you were a danger to yourself and to others, and that is a choice.
Yeah.
Right. You could have chose to just, be like, oh, I must just be dizzy or, so
Yeah.
on and so forth. And then what makes me think about that is that when you were looking at this situation, you have made some decisions to learn about yourself and pay attention to the cues to try and be proactive about managing it before things get worse. I think that sounds like a similar type of choice that you're making. It's like, I'm going to make the choice early for the best outcome. Is that a way you sort of do things? Would you say that's a part of your personality?
I mean, I definitely would, because when you're on the track, you have to make the decision, do I need to hit the brakes or do I need to accelerate?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it's how I live my life.
So you were in finance. Were you in the part of finance that's heavily risk taking or compliance and risk avoidance?
We were compliance and risk avoidance.
So I'm also going to say that that's a part of your personality, right? Because there's the other way to make decisions, which is the my frontal lobe is not engaged part, which is like always hit the gas and figure out how to solve the problem later.
And it's really funny because I really straddle that line.
Okay, all right. I
I
love that.
really straddle that line. And it's like there are times where it's appropriate to hit the brakes.
Yep.
And there are times where it's just, put that pedal to the floor.
Right.
And so it really is when I say that's how I live my life, like it really is how I live my life.
I love that. All right. So cutting to the chase, you have written a children's book. For people who are watching this on video, you can see a picture of it over your shoulder.
Oh, there she
Yay!
is.
Right? Okay, the title is Speedy Phoebe. And links
Yes.
for all of this will be in the show notes and in the emails. So you were reading because you were recovering and taking care of yourself and nurturing your body. Is that where what ideas came up? Is that where this idea started to fester?
Yeah. So when I say I was reading, um,
Were you
I
reading
was
children's books?
a little bit, a little bit. Yeah. With my
With the
kids, that
kids,
was,
sure.
that was one of the few ways that I could actually participate in family life because I was so sensitive to everything. Um, but I was not reading self-help books. No, it was like, escapism full on. And so, like I said, these ideas started coming. And so I became the car girl who got too sick to drive the fun cars. So I wrote about them instead.
Yeah.
And this is where I say, the Mario Andretti quote, downshift and take it aggressively. So my curve was this illness, this diagnosis, and me taking it aggressively was shifting from being a financial professional to now being a self-published author.
Yeah.
And it's it's been wild.
I
And
believe it. I've got some questions about that actually. I've
yeah,
got some
let's do
questions
it.
about that because so I love the picture on the cover of your book. I have to tell you that one of my kids came of age when the movie Cars was out. I have probably watched and listened to the movie Cars
Yes.
1,500, not even exaggerating. Like, you know how they
Yes.
watch them
Oh,
on
I know.
replay?
I
Like, I
know.
mean, it is such a great thing. And it reminds me of that. All right. So I've never actually written a children's book, but I know that this is something that a lot of people actually do dream of doing. I don't know if you were somebody who had once thought, oh, maybe I'd like to be an author of a children's book, but I actually do know a lot of people who that is something that they'd like to do about
Yeah.
something and so on. So I am curious. So you have this idea, you're like, I'm going to lean into this, I'm going to go big. What surprised you about the process and the process? Like, what were the things that were easier than you thought? And what were the things that you were like, oh my God, this is really hard?
Um, I think creating the book, like actually writing it, um, was easier than I expected.
Okay.
And then all of the other stuff was harder than I expected. Uh,
What falls into all the other stuff? Do you define, you are not the illustrator?
I'm not the illustrator.
Okay.
So I had a friend who illustrated the first book.
Oh, so you knew somebody who could do it. Ah, good job.
Yep. And he helped me develop the characters and um, really went through the journey with me, bringing these characters that I had in my mind to life, which was incredible. Um, but the process of going through all of that and the process of formatting everything and making sure everything is exactly how it needs to be,
Sure.
before you're uploading it to the printers and everything else, and then I had to make friends with Sam. You know who Sam is?
I do not know who Sam is.
Sales and marketing.
Oh, okay. I'm going through like the list of people who are like digital. Like I was like Jeff Bezos is
Yeah,
Amazon. Who is
yeah,
Sam Altman? He's the OI guy. I was like, that could have been anyway. Sales and marketing. Yes,
yeah,
yes. The world of publishing is
yeah.
and children's books. publishing, sales, and marketing, I think is very different than adult book sales and marketing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's been a real learning process. And it's been, I'm again, I'm grateful for having my time and my career in finance because I really feel like that helps me with the non-creative side of being an author.
Sure.
So, I'm just really happy that I have that experience to fall back on. And it's still, even with that, there's a lot of things that you just don't even know.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you enjoying learning them?
I am. I am.
Okay.
I have a wonderful author community um, because writing can be really lonely. Being an author is really lonely, but I have this amazing community of other authors that I've met along this journey, which has been just a godsend. So I'm grateful to them. I'm learning so much. I'm able to mentor those who are not as far in the process as I am, and it's just been an incredible experience all the way around.
That's
Uh,
amazing. All right, so I checked out you gave me the information for the book before we did this, and I checked out the book jacket, which I can see on the video, and I see that says it's part of a series that's being created, the
yes.
Carson Elementary series. I have two questions. My
Mhm.
first is ridiculous and maybe not even a good question, but is Carson Elementary a real place?
I think it probably is, but
Okay.
in this story, it is fictional.
Okay, all right. I want because like it could have been like, yeah, that's the school. You're right. So okay, then the second question is, do you at this point? This also might be a ridiculous question. Do you have any idea or goal for how big you want this series to be? Right now, it's a series of one with two on the way, but do you have any idea how big you want it to get?
Yeah, so I have at least four. So the
Okay.
first one, second one is like it's coming out. We're recording this. It's coming out this week as we're recording, um,
Ooh.
which is super exciting. It's super stressful. So super excited about that. And then yes, I have books 3 and 4, um, planned and ready to go as far as all of that. Um, with an idea actually also for number 5. So beyond 5, I am not sure,
Okay.
but the ideas for 5 are there.
That's very cool. So I love it when people do series of books. And I enjoy them. And sometimes, I forget the name of the author. I'm spacing on it. But it was like A is for this, B is for that. So then that's like a 26 series, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's real clear. And I don't think she actually finished that author. That was like she was like so. But anyway, all right. So in a second, we're going to do the final questions. But I do want to let you give people who are listening and watching some background and some how they can find you online to connect with you as an author. Like we're going to put the links to the books and stuff like that directly in the show notes and in the email, but tell people about your social media accounts and where you want people to find you.
Yeah, I mean, I am probably most active on Instagram.
Okay.
So I have, I'm trying to make it like a fun thing where it's a little bit about books, it's a little bit about cars, and about the inspiration for the books because that little red character right there,
Mm-hmm.
she's based off of a little bit off of me and a little bit off of a real car that I had. That was one of my favorite all-time cars.
Okay.
She was not the most powerful and she, wasn't the fastest, but she had the most heart. Um,
Ah.
and so that's kind of the inspiration for this little character. And so on my Instagram, I kind of go into all that stuff. So I'd love to hear um, from people and engage with people. So um, definitely reach out there. And
Okay.
then I'm on LinkedIn. My website. You'll have all the links for everybody. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear from people. Let me know, how I can support you. And be supported, and I just I think it's awesome. It's been a real source of joy for me as I'm recovering and going through this whole process. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the social media accounts for authors, like, so like I'm older than you are, I think, but back in the old days, like the publishers would like sell the books, but that is not the way the world works anymore. Like authors have to build a community and do the whole personal brand thing and everything like that. So it's like it's important. So um and it's hard to
Yeah.
put yourself out there every single day, like and do that. So yes, definitely. Okay, so now we're going to do the final three questions, which are rapid fire questions just for fun, not related to anything else that we already talked about. The idea is that you try and answer with just a couple words. Okay.
Okay.
Question number one, Ryan. Okay, be honest. This is actually maybe inspired by the whole code thing. I don't know. Now that I read it, now that I think about it, maybe I had the cars on the mind. Are you good at giving other people directions, like as in how to get someplace? So, like for example, you're walking through your town, you're standing in Houston, a stranger walks up and asks you how to get somewhere in your town. Are you good at giving those directions or not?
Mostly.
Mostly. All right, very good, very good. Have you ever given somebody wrong? This is an extra, not in one of the three. Have you ever given somebody wrong directions, but you don't realize it until later?
I don't think so, but
Oh,
it may
I
just be
have.
that I didn't realize it.
I totally have. I've given people very confident directions, like go down there, turn right, and then I'm walking along. I'm like, oh, that's totally wrong. Those people are going to be lost forever. Okay,
They're
all right.
probably still looking to get to where they're going.
100%. All right. So we're recording this in the season of winter gifts. I have gifting on my mind. What is one of the best holiday gifts that you remember receiving in your whole life?
Ooh, um, that's a really tough one because I had a really generous family.
Okay, but just pick one. Pick one that was good.
Um, Horseback riding lessons.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Nice. How old were you?
I was probably about 12.
Oh, I seriously, if you were to look back in gratitude journals from when any of the kids were young, I am so thankful that none of my kids asked for horseback riding. I mean, I live in a city, so it would have been a major production.
Yeah.
And I was just like, nobody mentioned that this is a thing that people can do.
Yes.
I was like this, just keep it, zip it. Right, exactly. Okay, so imagine that you were on a fairly long driving trip, like road driving trip, right? What is your favorite road trip snack?
Road trip snack. Um, Trail mix.
Trail mix. Oh, savory. Very nice. All right. That's it, Ryanne Siddiq. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest on the
This
Art
was
of
tons
Imperfect
of
Adulting.
fun, Amy. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you for listening today. I hope that you enjoy the show. And before I go, I want to encourage you to become a bigger part of the conversation. Obviously, subscribe wherever you're listening to the show. Listen to more episodes. That'd be great. Again, please write a review and tell your friends about the show. That truly is a great help for getting the show in front of new people. Okay, but more fun for you yourself, head over to imperfectadulting.com and join the email community. You'll get some free stuff right away, and that way you'll begin to get the emails about the podcast. This includes the links for the special offers from the guests, and it's the only way to get that. Also, if you aren't in the mood to listen, I actually include an article directly in those emails. Whee! Now, if you love this and you crave more time with me, Amy, as a coach, a mentor, or just adultier adult, numero uno, check out The Village. If you have a story you want to share with the listeners, I'd love to hear from you. I have an open application. Just let me know you want it. And that's a wrap for today. Until next time, remember, the journey is the destination. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that, not me. Well, until just now, I did just say it. But what I want you to hear today is that if your adulting journey isn't going the way you expected, that may not mean that you're lost. It may just mean that you're on your way. This is Amy Stone, signing off. The Imperfect Adulting podcast is created and produced by Amy Stone and Amy Says So. Anything expressed on this show is offered as entertainment, and the views of the guests may not always represent the ideas and viewpoints of the host. That's me. Amy does not intend or hold herself out to provide professional advice or recommendations of any kind. In the end, you and you alone need to make those kinds of decisions based on your personal and individual situation, needs, circumstances, and comfort level.